This is a video I have been dreading to make. I'm an Aston Martin fan. I've bought merchandise. I'm wearing a Lance Stroll freaking shirt. I've bought Lego sets. I'm an Aston Martin insider, whatever that means. I'm pretty sure it's just a scam to put me on a mailing list. That's why this video is so difficult to make. We seriously need to talk about Lance Stroll. Like I said, as a fan of Aston Martin, I'm not going to hop in here and tell you that he's ruining Formula One and his dad is single-handedly the most evil mofo to ever exist for wanting to see his son succeed in Formula One, because as you'll see, Lance isn't as terrible as people think he is. Don't get it twisted, I'm not saying this guy is a top-tier driver or that he really even deserves to be on the grid anymore. I'm just saying he's not the train wreck everybody thinks he is. Lance Strollovich, or Lance Stroll as we all know him, is a Canadian-Belgium racing driver who's currently in Formula One. He used to race for Racing Point, which became Aston Martin, and before that, Williams. Lance was an Italian F4 champion in 2014, a Toyota Series Racing champion in 2015, and an F3 champion in 2016. Lance was also the second youngest driver to ever podium in Formula One at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2017, his rookie season. So that has us all asking the question, what the hell happened? The Lance Stroll fall off has to be studied. It's a wild ride. Like, imagine looking at this photo and telling people that Lance Stroll completely destroyed an F3 grid with the likes of George Russell, Callum Ilott, Antoine Hubbard, RIP, and Zhou Guanlin. And he not only won, he kind of destroyed them. He beat second place Maximilian Gunther by 185 points and cleared Russell by 233 points. I feel like now might be a good time to tell you that Lance Stroll isn't your average Canuck like me. His father is Lawrence Stroll, business tycoon, current billionaire, owner of Aston Martin Formula One team. And his mother, Claire Ann Cullens, is a Canadian fashion designer. So, needless to say, Lance and his family had a bit more disposable income than, your average Canadian family, which led to a label which, rightfully or not, has followed Lance's entire career, and that label is pay driver. For those of you, though, that are actually new to this concept, it is just what it says it is. A pay driver is someone who is accused of purchasing their seat in Formula One. But before you get excited and give your rich aunt a ring, hold on. You can't do this. It's not that simple. There are more than a few hoops to jump through than having fat fucking stacks of money and a driver's license. There is no golden ticket. There's a thing called an FIA super license. That license is your golden ticket and gives you free reign to hop into a Formula One car and race. Obtaining this license is not easy, and as of 2023, here are your requirements. A minimum age of 18 years or older when starting your first Grand Prix. And we can thank Max Verstappen for that, because Red Bull threw a 17-year-old into a Formula One car. 9 out of 10 times, that's a terrible idea. Max is the exception. An existing holder of an international grade A competition license, a valid driver's license, passing an FIA theory test on knowledge of the Formula One sporting codes and regulations when applying for the first time, completed at least 80% of each of 2 full seasons in any of the single-seater championships reported in Supplement 1 of the regulations, accumulated at least 40 points over the previous 3 seasons in any combination of the championships reported in Supplement 1 of the regulations. I feel like a majority of those are pretty self-explanatory, but that last one, accumulating 40 points, is a bit of a head scratcher. What the hell are they talking about? Well, long story short, you get points for winning or coming in top 3 of motorsport categories that are not Formula One. These points are distributed in a sliding scale. So, for example, winning Formula 2 championship or winning the IndyCar championship nets you 40 points. Congratulations, you can hop in an F1 car and go. But while lower racing series like Formula E, Super Formula, they only net you 30 and 25 points, and also less relevant to open wheel racing like NASCAR, nab you 15 points. That is all a very long-winded way to tell you that you can't win the lottery on Friday, show up with a briefcase on Saturday, and get into qualifying. Well, not in this modern era anyway. Let's circle back to Lance. Lance has been labeled the king of pay drivers because during the 2018 season, the team formerly known as Force India was put into administration as a result of financial and legal troubles encountered by the team owner with a name that I'm not going to pronounce because I'm going to butcher it and it's probably going to be offensive. The team's assets were purchased by Racing Point UK, a consortium led by, y'all guessed it, Lance Stroll. So here's a bit of a fun fact for you guys that I found while researching this bad boy. It came down to Lance Stroll, or Dmitry fucking Mazepin, father of objectively the worst pay driver in modern Formula One history, Nikita Mazepin. So the FIA rightfully chose that Mr. Incredible was a better option than the villain from Die Hard. The prevailing sentiment from Formula One fans is that Lance Stroll purchased this team so Lance could have a seat. But in reality, he purchased the team so he could see his son be a Formula One champion. Hindsight's 2020. The thing that is upsetting is how long he's held on to a depreciating asset like Lance. It's incredibly tough to fire your son, but we got to talk about his performance. Let's get back on track and really focus on Lance's performances. And while in the seat of his father's team, his best season was in the #Pink Mercedes era of Racing Point, where he scored 75 points, a podium, and a pole at the Turkish Grand Prix. In stark contrast, his worst was the 2021 year, in a season under Aston Martin, where Stroll only scored 18 points and never managed a top 5 finish. In the 2023 season, oh boy, let's talk about 2023. The AMR 23 started the season on fire, with Fernando Alonso lighting up the score sheets and landing on the podium 5 out of the first 6 races. And he ended up finishing 4th in the Drivers' Championship with an average finishing position of 6.9. While in stark contrast, his teammate Lance Stroll had an average finishing position of 11th. For even more perspective, Fernando Alonso scored 73.57 of Aston Martin's points last season. Aston Martin finished 22 points behind McLaren. I waited on this video just in case Lance showed up in 2024, and somehow he got worse. We are over a quarter way done the 2024 season, and while Fernando Alonso isn't lighting up the score sheets like he did last year, he's single-handedly holding down that 5th spot in the Constructors' Championship with 75% of the team's points so far. He's continuing the trend from last year. So what do we get from all this data? It's that Lance Stroll needs to step up or step out. The big question is, can Lance Stroll turn it around? It's not a simple answer, but realistically, I don't think so, and it pains me to say that. I wanted to come here and defend him. A Canadian F1 driver is a rare thing. That's not our biggest export, if you feel me. And as the saying go, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And the numbers will tell us that the longer that Lance Stroll is in Formula One, statistically, the worse he gets. The steady decline of Lance is no simple matter. Stroll's inconsistency is literally the only consistent thing in his entire Formula One career. What complicates the matter is the fact that his seat is pretty much guaranteed. Well, I believe it was. Hear me out. Aston Martin is expanding their motorsport venture beyond Formula One. They're bringing a brand new Vantage GT3 car to multiple GT series, including the FIA World Endurance Championship and the INSA WeatherTech Championship, as well as others. And they're going to be bringing my personal favorite car ever created, the Valkyrie, under the hypercar class to the World Endurance Championship. So this gives Lance options to pivot in motorsport within the Aston Martin family if they show him the door from the Formula One team. Well, what are Aston Martin's options if they do show Lance the door, you might be asking? I've got 3 of them lined up, and let's start in-house with the reserve driver. Felipe Drugovich is a 23-year-old Brazilian Formula 2 champion who is currently taking the reserve role for Aston Martin. He's held this role for 2 years. Felipe is embedded in the team, understands the day-to-day operations of the team, and has been working with the staff and, most importantly, testing the car for the last 2 years. I feel like Aston Martin doesn't give him a chance. Who will? He spent all of this time embedded in the team, so he knows it best and they know him best. Felipe may have taken 3 years to win Formula 2, but a lot of drivers on the grid never even did that. His 26% podium rate in all races that he completed in Formula 2 is nothing to shake a stick at, so maybe Aston Martin should give the young Brazilian a chance. Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki is in the last year of his contract with Visa Cash App. I need money, don't sue me. So, this was recorded before it was announced that Yuki was going to stay with Visa RB for 2025. So let's pretend all I'm saying for 2025 means 2026. Okay, thanks. Let's go. And the V-Carb garage is starting to seem a little full. And Yuki, for some reason, seems like the odd man out. There's Daniel Ricciardo, who Red Bull wants to promote no matter how bad he is looking. And then there's Liam Lawson, who is an undeniable talent. And when he filled in for Daniel Ricciardo last year, he might have been the best driver out of the 3 of them. So where does this leave Yuki? In a weird spot. But no need to fear, Honda is here. Carlos Sainz Jr. Carlos was dropped by Ferrari this offseason, a choice that I would be up in arms about if not for who they were signing to replace him with. I mean, Lewis fucking Hamilton is statistically the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time. And if you have a chance to sign a GOAT, you sign a goddamn GOAT. Carlos is no slouch though. He's arguably a top 6 driver on the grid, a driver who gets better every single year he shows up. He's arguably the anti-Lance Stroll in that aspect. As Lance gets worse every year, Carlos gets better. He was also the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race last year and already has a race win in 2024. And he might have more up his sleeve as the season progresses. So that's just driving his price up. The biggest downside with Carlos, though, is the impending Audi deal. Everybody kind of knows he's going to end up at Audi. It's just a matter of when, not if. So this would be a rental, not a purchase. And with Fernando Alonso aging in the background, an all-Spanish lineup would be dope. But realistically, Carlos is going to sign with Audi. This is just a fever dream. So what would I want as an Aston Martin fan? Honestly, it would be Yuki Tsunoda. It's not the splash signing most people would imagine, but Yuki, like I said, has earned a chance to race outside of the Red Bull family, and what he is currently doing at time of filming with the V-Carb team is incredible. He's sitting in 10th in the driver's standing, and that car does not look incredible. He's ahead of Lance, and Lance is in a way better car, a more established team, a manufacturer team, not literally a sister team to one of the top teams. Yuki would be an upgrade over Lance Stroll, and I feel like that goes without saying, and he's the most realistic. There's a reason Felipe Drugovich hasn't taken a seat in Formula 1 or IndyCar or anywhere else, and I don't think it's because he's been promised a seat by Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso is getting old and can't drag this team to the points forever. He can't continue to score 70% or more of the team's points. We can't keep putting all the weight on that old back. And Yuki would be the perfect wingman for Fernando while he's in the twilight of his career, and then Yuki can take the reins, or we can completely reassess. Who knows? But Lance Stroll, unfortunately, has to go, as much as I hate it. I'd love to have a Canadian be a staple in Formula 1. There's a race in Montreal, but goddamn is he holding back the entire team, and it sucks as a fan. But I'd love to know what you guys think of the Lance Stroll dilemma in Formula 1. I guarantee the comments are going to be nice and civilized talking about Lance Stroll. I'm just kidding. You guys are going to be fine. But if you like what I'm doing here, please hit that subscribe button and feed the YouTube algorithm gods by hitting that like button. Be a good friend. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.